Hello, my lovelies! I'm GinnyZero, the author with no last name, and this is an extra Thursday video. I have been getting some asks on Tumblr, which is just great and amazing. I'm glad you guys are comfortable enough to come ask me questions over on my Tumblr, since I'm not really using my Twitter anymore. And I thought that it would be really cool to do a video here about some of the asks, and I don't want you guys to wait over a month and a half for me to be able to answer this question. I did answer on my Tumblr, but I would also like to do a video here, if only so in case other people have questions and they're not on Tumblr, or have the same question, they're not on Tumblr, they can still get an answer. And this is like a really odd time for me to start getting asks on my Tumblr, because normally I don't have a 5-part series of videos actually done and planned and ready to be uploaded. So that's why we're having Thursday videos, just some extra stuff so you don't have to wait until middle of September for me to get back to you, okay? And by the way, if you do have questions or about writing advice or branding advice, or if you have want me to expand on a point in a previous writing guideline video, go ahead, leave me a comment here on YouTube, or go over to the community page and leave a comment on one of my community posts over there, or you can come to Tumblr and leave me an ask on my Tumblr. Right now I'm not going to X, aka Twitter, so I won't see your questions there. So just Tumblr, or if you're really bold, you can find my email on my website and just send me an email. That works too. Okay, so I am open to questions. So today's questions are from DWF24-3-NZ over on Tumblr. And the first question they asked was, what was my opinion in writing a first draft in pen and paper? And then the second question they asked was, what is my opinion on the write every day, no matter if you have nothing to write? And so these questions are really feeling to me like they are having questions about writing process, writing advice, writing guidelines. They're reading a lot of writing books about, how to write. So today I'm going to try to answer the question, should we write every day? And then next week I'm going to give a more in-depth answer to my opinions on, writing advice, writing guidelines, writing processes, stuff like that. I think if we stick to the questions of should we use pen and paper for our first draft, and should we write every day, that's going to take up a good 20 to 30 minutes before I get into my opinions about writing process and writing advice. So, first off, I totally believe every single piece of writing advice is actually a writing guideline. So, they say in the ask that they write when they feel inspired. Now, the purpose of a write every day type of writing advice, type of writing guideline, is to get you into the quote-unquote writing discipline. But this kind of ignores a couple things, so we'll get to those in a bit. But the first thing I really want to put out there is, if you do not feel inspired, you do not feel creatively energetic enough to write every day, to add lines to your manuscript, to add a sentence or even, then don't. Okay? You need to find a process that works for you in a way that makes you feel happy, that makes you feel energetic, that makes you feel like you're having fun. Writing, a lot of times when you're getting this writing advice guidelines from these authors, it's because they've made it a full-time job. They're writing, you know, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever their writing schedule is. So they're like, they feel they have to put out words in a manuscript every single day to feel productive. That's what, you know, they're selling. They're selling words in a manuscript. Now, whether or not these words that end up in their manuscript when they don't feel like they have anything to write is something that needs to be edited out later is debatable. I mean, given the type of I'm seeing coming out from traditionally published authors, sometimes I feel like if they are following that advice, they're also not getting this stuff taken out properly by an editor, you know. So that's where they're coming from. They're coming from, you know, you gotta pump out words, you gotta make progress, you know, even it's a discipline. And to a lot of people, that can feel really painful, really boring, really frustrating. So, you, as a creative person, when you're trying to be creative, when you're trying to be, you know, putting your thoughts and soul out there, being frustrated, being anxious, it puts the brakes on your creativity. Having stress, having exhaustion, having, you know, being ill or whatever, it just doesn't make you want to be creative. It literally blocks you from being creative. And if you try to write every day, put words into a manuscript, when you're not feeling inspired, when you're feeling tired, when you're feeling ill, and you keep just trying to do this, you open up a screen and you stare at the blank page and the blinking cursor for, you know, however long, you're going to have negative emotions start being associated with your, whether it's a hobby or whether it's something you're doing to publish so you can be an amateur or a professional, depending on your point of view. You're going to have all these bad negative emotions associated with it. And you're not going to want to do it. So you'll put it off and you put it off and it becomes more stressful and you get more frustrated because you're not putting words down on a page. And it just makes this snowy bully effect that, you know, is no good for you and it's no good for your mental health or your emotional state or, you know, and it means you're not actually putting anything down on the page. So if you can't write when you're not inspired, shut the manuscript. Go off. Shoot. Leave. Get up. Take a break. You know, that's fine. You have to find your own way of doing things. Okay. I'm going to use a weird example because for me, I write when I'm for fun and I write for profit. So I don't try to force my writing, so I don't really usually have negative emotions associated with it. But I have felt this. So in my second year of fashion school, doing my second design class, they gave us a project. We were doing 3 projects over 15 weeks, so it's a 5-week project. And we were to design, I believe, a 10-piece collection for resort. And you're going, what in the world is resort? Resort are holiday clothes. So if you were going on a cruise, what would you wear on a cruise? If you were going on a trip to the Maldives, what would you wear to the Maldives? What would you wear to Trinidad? What would you wear to Bora Bora? You know, it's vacation clothes. They did not explain this very well in the class either. What they told us to do was to go look at other designers' holiday and resort collections and see what they had designed. this is not helpful. This is not helpful at all. It was very, very frustrating. So already our brief, design a resort wear collection, was stupid frustrating. Like, because they could not tell us in clear English what a resort collection actually was. And I believe part of this is that these weren't certified teachers. She was from Eastern Europe. She was working for Levi's, and she was not a certified teacher. Most of my teachers at that school were not certified teachers. So, okay, we're already frustrated because we don't know what we're supposed to be designing. That is very important. We need to know what we're supposed to be designing. And then, my brain, being a northern girl from New York, upstate New York, went, you know, snow is a lot like sand, except it's whiter and cold. So I really want to do this collection that is inspired by ice and snow. So lots of white sparkly fabrics. I want to use paisleys to represent the feather designs on ice windows. I wanted to use vinyl, like clear vinyl, and like have clear plastic shoes. And I wanted to be like, I want to create these little like, put like little beads inside buttons and stuff. And you know, you have those on athletic clothing, you have these type of fasteners which you press on the end and you pull them up and down on cords to take clothing and make them shorter and longer. And I was like, you could put a bead in that. That'd be really cool. So it'd be like ice-covered fruit, okay? Like ice-covered little cranberries or something like that. So that was my plan. You know, little bags made out of terry cloth that look like muffs. And I tried to explain this to the teacher. I don't know if I didn't explain it well enough or what. But she was looking at everything and she turns to me and she goes, having ice and snow is not enough. You need to go get me more pictures of ice and snow. I'm like, what? More pictures? And you need to look at pictures of people who live in these Arctic areas to get clothing inspiration. I'm like, why do it? It's a resort collection. Why? And I was early 20s, did not push back. So I was like, I really wanted to get a good grade. And so I was like, all right, let's go get pictures of Aurora Borealis. I don't know what I'm going to do this for. Let's go pictures of, you know, Inuit people. And it was so frustrating because it was already hard enough that we were trying to wrap our heads around holiday resort, which is not something a lot of designers actually do. And, you know, it hadn't been explained well. And then she was taking my inspiration of just, you know, ice and snow, because I wanted, you know, resort needs to be really light type of fabrics. You're going to be making little slippy dresses and t-shirt dresses and, you know, wide-legged pants and jumpsuits and, you know, little caftans, things like that. She's taking my idea of I'm wanting to take like a white swing dress and make most of it white and then the bottom of it pine green, and she's like totally off in left field, going, go after those people who wear fur. I'm like, why? But you know, I wasn't old enough at the time. So the more this project went on, you know, and then she went 3 or 4 weeks in, she goes, you do realize that this is not a traditional resort inspiration everybody else is doing, you know, sand dunes or the rainforest. I'm like, you couldn't have told me this the first week? You could have told me just to go find something else. I would have gone and found something else. So I had to come up with an entire reason why I was doing ice and snow. I said, you know, they're going on a cruise to Alaska or Norway. People thought I was really creative. I was going, no, I'm trying to save my ass. And to make matters worse, the head of my department was there too, because there was 2 or 3 of us who had extra credits, and this was kind of like an evaluation towards our total progress as designers through school. Like, we were going to get special evaluations from these people, from the head of our department, and it was just like, you're doing this on the first project, not like the second or the third project when we're like more into the swing of things. It was awful. It was frustrating. And to this day, I still have not gone back, tried to clean the slate, remove the frustration, and redo that project. Because it's just too frustrating to me. I have this block about it. And I had these beautiful mood boards all for it, and I'd gone looking for fabric and everything. And like, I could do it, but it's just so frustrating. It's too stressful. That emotion is still there blocking me. So if you can't write every day and you feel that it's going to create negative emotions and put extra stress on you, don't do it. You got to find your own way. Now, the other thing that this kind of write every day ignores is that the writing process is more than just adding words to your manuscript. So when you are writing, there's this whole bunch of stuff that you're going to be doing, before or during you're writing your manuscript. And if you're just adding words every day to your manuscript for the sake of adding words, for the sake of having progress, for the sake of saying, you have written so much today, it means that you're ignoring a lot of the beginning steps or, other things that you could be doing that would help make your work richer, more layered, just the 2 layers down thing, more explanations to make your world and your characters feel more alive. So, part of writing is research. This could be historical research. It could be cultural research. It could be, character research. It could be reading in your genre. That's very important. You need to be able to read into your genre to know what other people are doing and know what people expect, and know how you can subvert things or lampshade things. It could be learning a new skill, or a vocational research. It really could be, like anything. And so this research is very important. And then you can take your research and write a lore book. Especially if you're writing like a fantasy or science fiction setting or historical setting. Having a lore book will help you put all this information you're learning into one place, and then if you're writing a history, it will help with like not having plot holes. You'll know your culture, and you'll be able to get it out of your head onto a page, and then when you need it in your story, you can reveal information as necessary in the story rather than info dumping everything onto the page. Like, yes, there are going to be people who are going to want an in-depth explanation of how your city works, but believe me, it slows down your story. Get it into a lore book, and then that way, as you need to know how the city works, you can put it into the story as necessary. Creating lists of characters, creating a timeline, outlining. That's all a part of writing. That, it doesn't have, it could be a bullet point outline. It could be a spider web outline where you have post-it notes and little pieces of yarn. It could be, a synopsis outline where you have paragraphs and paragraphs, and you're like, oh, I had this great dialogue idea. I need to write down the scene and the dialogue, and, and then you can, and so it becomes this huge ass paragraph, and you're like, ah, at least it's out of my head for now, and I can come back and refer to it later. You could be talking to somebody, maybe you're out in the parking lot getting tamales from the tamale vendor, and you think, oh, this tamale vendor is an awesome person, they'd make a great character. Maybe you're creating a mood board or a playlist, or you could be scrolling Tumblr. Maybe you see a meme, maybe you see a little story about, something that you've think would be really cool, you know, to add real-life veracity to a character. I have an entire project started by me. That was kind of fun, which I had to write a lore book for, because I put a challenge for myself, and now I need to write a lore book. And, you know, I was scrolling Tumblr one day, and I saw this really cute story about a computer guy and a parrot, and I was like, that's funny, I'm going to abscond with it because I have a character who has a parrot, and that's the type of parrot he's got. I really like that. Or, I was watching, you know, YouTube videos about parrots, and I thought that's, you know, I think that this character should have the parrot type of thing. Or, you know, that's all a part of writing. And I'm not going to say that writing is always going to be easy, because it's not. Because it can be difficult. It can be hard. You are going to come up against problems and walls, and, you know, sometimes part of writing is getting up and taking a walk and then talking yourself through this problem. Or you can talk to a rubber duck. You know, put something on your desk, like a little plushie. I've got a little, like, husky plushie that I could put on my desk to talk to. Or it might be talking to your best friend. I do that a lot. You know, talking to my best friend to see if I can talk the problem out. That is part of writing. Surmounting these problems, these issues, you know, maybe it's a plot hole, maybe you don't have enough plots, maybe you don't know, you know, what scenes you need yet. That can be part of writing. And that might not be writing anything in the manuscript. It might be, you know, yakking for a couple hours and then later taking notes. That is part of writing. And this also ignores the second half of writing, editing. Okay? So you are going to have to get to a point where you're stopping adding words to your manuscript and you're, like, crossing out words and rearranging words and, you know, maybe adding stuff because you find out it needs to be fleshed out, but editing is part of writing. You're going to get to this point where you have to end the manuscript and you have to toss it away for a couple months, go work on something else, with, you know, clean out your brain from the idea, whatever, move forward, and then you go back and look at the manuscript later and reread it. Rereading things is part of writing, you know, and you can look at it with a fresh set of eyes and go, how does she know this? Where did this come from? You know, you're going to have all these questions. You might have these questions that aren't actually answered in the manuscript, so you have to go back and add scenes or take out scenes or, you know, rearrange things. Maybe your description is really rough, so you have to go back and redo your description. And that is part of writing. So, should you write every day? Only if it helps you, okay? Should you write on pen and paper? Only if it helps you. I started these 2 books on pen and paper, and I found that my brain thinks so fast, my hand can't keep up. So my hand was actually cramping and my wrist was really hurting, and this is the wrist I've broke 3 times, so, you know, it's not good. So I was just like, I can't continue to write. One, because, you know, it hurts, and that's my body telling me to stop, and 2, it was getting illegible. I could barely read it. You know, I just can't keep up with it. So I can write or type 90 words to a minute, pretty much. And that means I can keep, my fingers can keep up with my brain, but I can't write on a piece of paper fast enough. So that first draft, if you need pen and paper, use pen and paper. If you want to write it in Facebook, go ahead. If you want to write it, you know, on Post-it notes, or if you're going to use Notepad, or you're going to use, you know, use a word program, use what helps you. Now, eventually, for your second, third, or fourth draft, or however many drafts you do, you are going to have to move it to an electronic format document, probably either in LibreOffice, Calibri, Scrivener, or a word processor, some sort of word processor. There's like 3 or 4 of them. you're going to have to do that because in order to submit it to agents and them to submit it to publishing houses, they want an electronic format document, usually a doc, very rarely a PDF, but usually some sort of document, and that's just the way it is. But for that first draft, if using pen and paper helps, do it. I'll take some notes on pen and paper, but I won't. I've learned the hard way. I can't write a full first draft in pen and paper. It just hurts too much. So the gist of this is, if writing every day helps you and you don't feel frustrated by it, do it. If you can only write when you feel inspired, do it that way. Please take weekends, take vacations, stop sometime during the day. You know, if your brain is tired, stop. Don't try to force yourself to write for 8 hours if your brain cannot write for 8 hours. It is a skill like everything else, okay? Some days you're gonna write 1,000 words. Other days you're going to write 8,000 words. I think one day I wrote 16,000 words, and I was like, how did I do that? That's a little insane. And, you know, if you're writing original fiction, it will be more difficult than, say, writing fan fiction. There's a whole different brain process going on with your neural lobes. And just write in a way, in a process that works for you. So next Thursday, I'm going to talk a bit about writing processes, my opinion on them, because there is a lot of writing advice, writing guidelines out there, and we need to talk about why that is. So take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Bless, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.